This is Matt for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined by one of the best trainers in the game right now, Davison. Ben, we're here. Josh Taylor, Mr. Undisputed. Big fight at the Hydro. Got all the fans back in. Should be a big event.
Yeah, it is a big event, you know. The Undisputed crown is on the line, and Josh has got to go out there and defend that Saturday night.
What do you make of Jack Catterall? Obviously, I think a lot of people in the boxing world are sort of, I won't say dismissive, but I think they're making it out to be an easier fight for Josh than what it actually is. Do you agree with that a little bit?
Yeah, when you're taking into consideration what Josh has gone away and achieved, you know, there's such high expectations from Josh, you know. A lot of people probably won't even know what Jack Catterall is good at and bad at. And that's the reality of it, but he certainly poses his own threats, and they're threats that we're aware of and we've planned for, and hurdles that we're prepared to overcome.
Now Josh is 18-0, but he's already undisputed champion. He's cleaned up the division, been in there with the very best. Do you almost feel like, I know you've probably been asked, but he doesn't get the respect he deserves? Because I know he did it, a lot of it behind closed doors the past couple of fights, but he really is like one of the best boxers that Britain's had, isn't there?
Well, for me, there's only two undisputed world champions in boxing, Canelo Alvarez and Josh Taylor, and that sentence alone says it all.
Do you think this year will be the moment he breaks out into that, maybe that crossover star, that one there he's maybe in the more public domain where not just the hardcore boxing fans but the casuals, the crossovers? Do you think that'll happen this year?
Yeah, this is certainly the first step on that, on a big platform like Sky and ESPN. He's got the platforms there to be able to do that. That'll all come from starting from a showcase performance on Saturday.
One thing that always sort of gets levelled at you, I've noticed, is especially critics, he's already been a world champion, and then he goes to Ben, and Ben, he's already got the world champion. But you've seen that you've performed with so many people at different levels, your Lee McGregors, Lee Wood, who want a world champion. So I want to know from you is, what's the subtle changes and improvements you've seen in Josh since you've brought him on board? Because he's got a lot of tools to use, but what are the subtle improvements you've seen?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that they're banking on is, you know, I know that they'll be watching the Prograis fight and Josh jumping in and sloppy transitions against Prograis, which he got away with because of his physical attributes in that fight. So, you know, and there's moments that Josh switched off against Prograis, and as I say, got away with because of his physicality. But they're things that we've looked to iron out of his game. They're looking at weaknesses that were there before. Oh, I'm all right, thank you. They're weaknesses that were there before he come to us, and we've been working on ironing those elements out of his game, making his transitions through distances smoother, and just keeping his concentration, you know, throughout a fight. So, you know, every fighter's got strengths and weaknesses, and but obviously all the way through development we're working on ironing out the weaknesses and improving the strengths.
Now when you look at Josh, to me from the outside looking in, it's quite obvious he's huge for this weight. He looks physically like very big. So this isn't looking past Jack, but providing you get the win that you and Team Taylor want, I assume that you'll be looking at potentially testing yourselves at the 147s and seeing how that goes?
We'll have to see, because Josh can do 140 and do 140 comfortably. He can stay at 140 throughout his career.
He looks so big. Honestly, I look at him there and think, Jesus, Weps, you're massive.
He is big for the weight, but he does do the weight well, and he could continue to make in that weight. But look, you know, everything that's up for grabs. There's no focus past Jack Catterall.
Right, I want to come on to you now. Obviously, you're full on all the time. You train so many fighters. Boxing's your life. So what do you do to switch off? How, when boxing, you can eventually sit down, you know, what do you do in your spare time to sort of recharge your batteries, or, you know, give yourself that maybe the ass to get back out and go again? What do you do in your off time? Apart from your hair.
I don't really have it, you know, and it's you know, look, we're all working on work. We're all always working on working out what we're supposed to do with life. And yes, I'm comfortable with the element and parts of my life that work. You know, fantastic. Have I got a perfect balance? No, I've got a very unhealthy balance of work and personal life. But part of me thinks is that part of what you have to have, and part of, unfortunately, it comes with the territory if you want to be successful in something. But then another part of me thinks, well, you know, you need that healthy balance to be happy, which is obviously a huge, important part of life. So yeah, it's not something that I've mastered. It's something that I'm still figuring out, and I don't have a healthy balance of work and switching off.
I imagine it's hard when you get home, like even if you've got like a few hours, or you're with Mrs, you'd be constantly going over in your head thinking, well, there's this coming up tomorrow, this coming up, and then maybe even looking through game plans. Is that really difficult to sort of say, right, nothing for a few hours, I need that time?
Yeah, but it's easier said than done. I've had relationships in the past where I'm that way inclined anyway, like my mind doesn't stop, and I've had that before. Like relationships have failed before where you know, partners at the time have said to me, you know, I feel like you're not here even when you're here. You know, which is a horrible feeling to have somebody feel, but it's something that there's an art to being able to be present in the moment, but at the same time, it's like what I was saying, sometimes golden nuggets can come to you in those moments when, you know, you're just constantly going over it in your brain, and that extra bit of time that you're running through things when you're supposed to be somewhere else or doing something else, you know. Like I say, I haven't mastered it, but is that the difference?
Is that the price to success, you think, where you give that up that much, where you look back on maybe once, I know it's a long time for you, but maybe once it's done and you go, you know what, I've been remembered as one of the best trainers ever, maybe that was the price I've had to pay to be in them conversations? Do you reckon something like that?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think so, and I watched
it worth it?
Yeah, 100% it will be worth it. I watched the thing the other day on Sir Bobby Robson, and have you seen the documentary on Amazon?
I've seen so much on that man. He's
and his wife and it was his son that said, you know, people say to me, oh, what were the conversations you had about this player or that game and that game? And he went, I didn't see much of my dad, you know, and that's a horrible thing to do. I can't wait to be a parent and be a father, but you know, it's about finding a balance, and like I say, I haven't mastered that yet.
No worries. Well, we'll come on to one more. I just thought I'd throw you a bit and see what you do in your off time. But yeah, Fury Whyte's finally signed. From his ex-trainer's point of view, what do you think about the fight? Should be a terrific build-up. You know, God willing, it all goes ahead as planned. Will you be going? You looking forward to it? Yeah,
I'll have a fight at Royston Barney Smith boxing on the undercard, I think. So I'll be there. Interesting that you say about the build-up being entertaining. We expected that, but we've had silence from Dillian Whyte at the moment, so will it be, will it not be? And in terms of the fight, how the fight will play out, Tyson's so versatile, it's hard to say how he's going to go about the fight.
Absolutely. Look, Ben, thanks for giving us some of your time today. You've done a shed load of interviews, so I appreciate talking to In2 Boxing. We'll catch up again.
No problem, mate. Thank you.